This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
This table is really tilted.
Excuse me? Am I gonna get a chance to speak?
Maybe I should take that back.
Denied. Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Take a giant step for mankind.
Welcome to the Tilted Table with your hosts, Sean and Joe.
So I opened it up and I'm like, oh shit.
You'll dig it. You'll dig it.
Well, folks, welcome to the Tilted Table, the internet's answer to a question that no one asked. I am Sean Landon Clark.
And I am Joey Joe, the Fracky Mac.
And we are back for another round. This episode is about murderers. But not like true crime, because that would be too obvious and probably would give us a bunch of views and actually put us on the map somewhere. We're going to talk about murderers that we've actually met.
In person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have met a number of people who have killed people, and that's because I was a newspaper reporter for many years. So when we talk about murderers, we're opening it up to just anybody that's killed somebody, not necessarily somebody that is a serial killer or somebody that actually plotted someone's death. You know, I think we're opening this up to accidental murders and things like that. Is that fair?
I would say that's fair. I mean, today is going to be a storytelling day. And I have only met one person that's murdered somebody else, but it's made a lifelong impression on me.
Okay.
So I'm and it's not a story that I've shared with a lot of people. So I think it'll be good for the audience.
Okay. I have several stories. So you want to start with me because if you go first, and this is going to be the rest of the podcast, it's just going to be me
talking.
Right.
It'll be the Sean show.
Okay, so I'm going to start with a local person. I'm not going to say their name because they are kind of a prominent figure. Mm-hmm. But they're in our lovely burg. There is a woman who has her own talk show, and it's on YouTube. I don't think it's on regular television. And even if it was, who the hell watches fucking regular TV anymore? But it's a YouTube channel, and she interviews people, and
she's here.
Yeah, this is locally in town. And she is a fitness model. She's very pretty. And she...
Why don't I know this? If it's here...
I don't want to say the name because, I mean, like, the odds of this actually getting to her, and I'm not going to put her name out there, and then I'm going to talk about what I understand about the case and have her go sideways on me. But I've met her one time. She hangs out in town at various locations, bars, and things like that. She'll pop up. She's very, very nice. She's very personable. Again, she's somebody who is, in entertainment. So the story goes like this. She was an actress. I guess in her 20s. She went down to LA and tried to do that. And she did do a number of like B films and things like that. So she had some kind of minor success doing that. Okay. But at some point in LA, she was with somebody, and that somebody had a friend that was like a music producer. Again, these are kind of D-listers, E-listers, and nobody.
Ooh, an E-lister,
right?
Okay.
Nobody's super prominent. And from what I understand from the news reports, this is coming from the news. This is not coming from her. It's not coming from anybody I talked to. This is all in the news. That there was some altercation in an apartment, and she ended up killing the music producer guy.
Wow.
And and she went to trial for it and was acquitted in self-defense or something like that.
How'd she kill him?
I think she shot him. She may have stabbed him, but I think she shot him.
Okay.
You think I'd prepare for shit like this? I'm going to do an episode. I'm going to think I'd prepare for this, but
okay.
Yeah.
So then what happened? So she just
she was acquitted of it, and she moved back to town up here, and then she started her own YouTube, and again she's one of those trying to be an influencer. I don't know. I don't really know how many followers she has. I will say she has a lot of followers. I'm talking in the tens of thousands at least, probably even more. Again, she's a fitness model. She's very attractive.
Got it.
Yeah. So, and she posts a lot of photos of her, bikinis and things like that. And yeah, so she's got a following, and her show is pretty good. It seems to be very well produced. She's got a studio, and it looks like a legitimate talk show. A guy that I know went on her show to talk about his past. He was a former marijuana dealer, I guess somewhat big time, and now he does all these educational things where he goes out to schools and whatnot, tells people not to do drugs and get involved and stuff like that.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, yeah, that's one murder.
So when you met this individual in person, did they give off any like crazy vibes?
No,
or?
not at all. As a matter of fact, I didn't even know she had done that. It wasn't until much later someone told me, like, you know that she killed somebody. I said, what? And then I went on the internet and looked it up. And I'm like, oh shit, she did.
Did you search it on your phone under the table after you shook her hand?
No, this is the privacy of my own home. Much like watching porn, close the blinds. I'm about to look up some news articles about some crazy chick that murdered somebody.
That's crazy, man. Okay, so it's my turn, I guess, to tell a story. So this, I think I probably already shared this. Back in college, I got my degrees in chemistry and mathematics. And when I graduated, I also did a short pre-PhD stint at Virginia Tech in chemical engineering. And I learned really fast that while I might be pretty good at something, it doesn't mean that I like it.
Right.
So I finished my research project, and then I made a decision that just wasn't for me. But then there isn't anybody that's hiring for a normal job, somebody that's a chemist mathematician. It's just like, then it becomes, do you have work experience, period?
Right.
It doesn't matter about the education. I kept putting my resume into all of these different companies. And then I eventually got a phone call from the soils analysis company that's here in town. And the year is 2002. And I remember it was in the middle of August. It was freaking hot, man. It was like 118 that day. I drove my little Plymouth into the parking lot. It was this tan, low-slung building off of Shaw and 99 in this industrial park. And when I walked through the front door, this time I'm 20. I think I just turned 22 years old. It's super dark in there and cold, like most laboratories will be. And this woman came, and I'm using the word woman, not lady. This woman came from around the corner and who was going to be interviewing me. And immediately, even at 22 years old, all of my spidey senses went off, and something was rotten in Denmark is all I could think. So she gave me a tour of the facility. I remember walking down this really long, dark hall. On the right-hand side, there was all, these where like cubicles would be. There was like different analytical equipment for whether it was soils or liquids or whatever. And on the right side, all the way down the hallway, stacked too high, were these blue polyurethane waste disposal drums. So think of like basically just giant plastic drums. You throw all the chemical waste into and whatnot.
I've seen Breaking Bad.
Yeah, so it's basically the same thing, right? And I remember the whole time, just the vibes this woman's getting off. She just looked angry and pissed, not at me, but just like at life in general. So we would go back into her office, and where I already knew it was a really weird situation that I was in, and I couldn't wait to get out of there. In fact, I was like, I was extremely close to my grandparents, and I even mentioned a couple times to this woman that I needed to call and check on my grandparents. Not that I needed to do it.
Yeah,
it was
just an excuse.
I just need to get out of here. This is not right. We go into her office, and I've only seen this once before, is she had her desk on a dais. So like a raised platform that was like 4 inches tall. The chairs that you would sit in facing the desk were like super low chairs. So it created this really weird height imbalance.
Okay. Where
she's basically a foot higher than you are as you're sitting in the chair in front of her desk. Really bizarre, like power dynamic thing. So she told me on my start date how much money I was going to make. I just kind of shook my head, nodded, said I had to leave to call my grandparents. I walked out of the door. I immediately whipped out my little tiny Nokia phone, and I called Cookie, and she's like, "How did your interview go?" And I said, "Weirdest experience ever. I can't work here." And she's like, "You really need a job. You need to pay for your apartment." I'm like, "I can't work with this person. Just something's wrong." A year later, that lady's name she's known as the Acid Lady.
Okay.
Her name is Larissa Schuster. Those vibes that I was getting, she was in the middle of a really acrimonious divorce with her husband, Tim. So I said no on taking the job. The gentleman who took my job, his name's James Fagoni. Larissa basically blackmailed James into shooting Tim with a taser and chloroforming him and dumping his body into one of those blue waste disposal drums filled with hydrochloric acid to dissolve the body. I think they also beat him with a hammer because somebody else that I knew lived right across the street from her and saw the day that had happened. She was scrubbing red paint out of the off of the floor of the garage.
Oh, the red paint.
Uh-huh. So as soon as she was caught, that's where the media dubbed her the acid lady for trying to dissolve her husband's body, and most of it was gone. But they were able to do DNA samples inside of that blue disposal unit to figure out, who actually was in there.
Okay.
James Fagoni is now doing life in prison in Folsom. So the job that I passed on, the person that took my job is now doing life.
Okay, so you can continue if you want. I have questions.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So I guess the last final thing is, so she's doing life in prison out at Chowchilla, and a friend's wife actually works out there in the medical unit and says that she's and I don't know this is just hearsay, but she's a prison shot caller, and so she's running her own gang inside of the women's prison. I'm like, as I'm having lunch with my buddy and he's telling me that, I'm like, that totally tracks, man. Like, tigers don't change their stripes. Mm-hmm. If you're gonna beat your husband to death with a hammer and trying to dissolve his body in a pool of hydrochloric acid, I'm pretty sure you're gonna do some other nefarious stuff.
Wow. I do remember this story. I remember this was when it was in the news. I didn't recall this.
Yeah, it's been on 2020. It's been on Snapped. It's been on Cracked. It's been on any like true crime, like brutal murder, or like women gone wrong. She's always one of the subjects.
I guess my first question is how did she blackmail? What is his name? Fagano? No.
James Fagoni.
Fagoni. How did she blackmail him?
I don't know, man. It's like, you could easily look this up on Wikipedia or whatever. It was like, if you don't do this, I'm going to take your job because you misbilled someone, or like, it was something like he and I were the same age. So it was basically, she had to be in her mid 40s, early 50s at that point. So you got a 20-year-old kid.
Sure.
That you're kind of, mentally pushing around. So yeah, one decision led to another, and now he'll never get his life back.
It's wild to me because, well, one, that was supposed to be you, right? That's the actual that's the punchline of the story, right? Yeah. That was supposed to be you, and I'm putting myself in that situation as you're telling the story. I'm thinking like, well, obviously Joe was supposed to be the guy that would be in that spot where he's getting blackmailed, and I'm thinking myself like, could someone blackmail me? If they could hold my job, over my head, unless you had some serious, evidence against me and some kind of really horrendous thing, you could never get me to kill somebody for you. Fuck that.
Right.
I'll lose my job tomorrow. I don't care how old I was, but like, fuck that. I'm out.
Oh yeah, 100%. But it's so crazy that even to this day, whenever like you made the Breaking Bad reference, whenever I do see one of those blue chemical disposal drums, like I snap back in my mind to walking down that dark, cold hallway and seeing those drums stacked, one on top of another. And it was like 50 feet of them, like in a line. There was a bunch of them.
Jeez, I'm surprised that he got life. I'm thinking if he got a good enough lawyer that he could have, obviously parlayed the fact that she was blackmailing him, or I don't know the extent of what the blackmail was. And that may have been the reason why he got life, to say like, well, she threatened to fire me. Like, oh, come on, bro. Right? That's weak.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a pretty weak ass reason. It's like, oh, I don't want to lose my job, so I guess I'm going to go commit murder.
Yeah. I still remember the day after they caught her, and it made front page news. And I had a newspaper subscription. I remember grabbing the paper off the driveway, and I opened it up, and I was like, holy, it was her ugly mug looking back at me off the front page. And I'm really thankful that, somebody's watching over me, because my life could be a whole lot different.
Oh God, yeah, no shit. But I think you would have walked out of that place. I didn't.
Oh
know
yeah,
I didn't know you at 22, but I don't think you would have been as pushed around as the other guy was.
No, but it's there's only been a handful of my times in my life that you could say like my spidey senses were going off, and it was like I say something rotten in Denmark, and that was 100% just within 3 seconds of seeing this person.
Sure,
someone's not right.
Yeah, I've gotten those kind of vibes from people throughout my life, and yours is a little more like I don't want to say. I guess the word I want to use like a bit clandestine is that you don't know this person at all. You just got that initial vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I've been around people that I do know, at least to some degree, and something's happening. They're in a situation. It seems like it could be something serious, but maybe not. It's like a general kind of bullshit or drama.
Right.
And you're like, I'm walking out here right now because I think by the end of this evening, somebody is going to get hurt. I'm not going to be around for this shit. And like, I'm out. So
yeah, you don't want to be a part of that article.
Yeah, but I've at least had some, inclination. I got some knowledge of the people, so it wasn't like it was just meeting somebody and then immediately saying like, this is bad news.
Mm-hmm.
I've met a lot of people that I've never met before. You meet them for the first time and immediately like, this is somebody I do not want to be around.
100%.
But I'm pretty closed off. I'm definitely somebody that, no new friends kind of thing. So when I meet people, I'm a pretty good judge of character. And I think that's part of my journalist background. Reading people is something I'm really good at. So I can immediately generally tell if there's a problem. And it's like, this is not somebody I want to be around.
Right.
Long before they try to wrap me up into any of their bullshit, I'm out. I'm not going to bother with this person. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah,
it's a crazy story, right?
Yeah, I remember that story.
Yeah,
that was big news.
You just, when people, tell them, they called her the acid lady, and that's all I have to say, and people immediately know who I'm referencing.
Sure, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Leave a like on the video. I know you're enjoying this. Can you shut up?
The internet's answer to a question that was never asked. The Tilted Table with Sean and Joe.
Well, the other story I have involves my journalism experience and, working for the Oakland Tribune for 5 years. I met a lot of people who killed people. Obviously, some of it was, like straight out murder. Some of it was more maybe accidental. Mm-hmm. But one of my favorite stories involves twin brothers, Terry and Jerry. Terry and Jerry with the ironic last name of Kill, K-I-L.
No, is this for real?
I swear to God, I'm not making this up.
Wow. Okay. Twins with the last name Kill.
Yes.
Destined for greatness.
Destined for greatness. So I got to set this story up because if I don't set it up, it's not as funny, I guess. I don't know if death is ever funny, but in this particular case, it is kind of funny.
Does it count as a double kill?
Two for one, mm-hmm. Right? You've seen the movie Pulp Fiction.
Yes.
Okay, so I would assume most people listening have probably seen Pulp Fiction, but if you haven't, I'm not going to, the plot of the movie is impossible to describe. I'm going to talk about one particular scene. It's a very famous scene. The movie involves, at least partly, these two hitmen, one played by Samuel L. Jackson, one played by John Travolta, mm-hmm. and they go to collect something from these people. And during this collection of this item, somebody tries to sneak attack them, come out with a gun and shoot them. And this guy comes out like a hand cannon and fires at both of them, missing them completely. And then they fire back and kill the guy. Well, when they leave this apartment after this is done, they get in a car and they take one of the folks that are in the apartment with them. Okay. A guy named Marvin. Remember Marvin?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And who is Marvin? You really don't know. He's just part of some, storyline that is not fully fleshed out about who this person is. So these two hitmen are driving down the street. And they've got Marvin in the back seat, and they're having a conversation about what just happened in this apartment. One thinks that those bullets missing them is some sort of divine intervention from God.
Okay.
John Travolta's character is like, no, shit just randomly happens. This guy fired a bunch of shots at us, and he missed. And that's all it is. There's no divine intervention. And they're having this debate back and forth. Marvin's sitting in the back seat, not saying anything because, of course, these two hitmen, I just raided his apartment. And so I guess, I don't know, again, it's unclear what his relationship is to these people. So John Travolta has a gun in his hand, and they're having this conversation in the front seat. And he turns around and asks Marvin, what do you think about all this stuff? Is there a divine intervention, whatever? And Marvin's response is like, man, I don't want any part of this conversation, whatever. He's not about it. But, Travolta has the gun kind of, perched in his direction. gun accidentally goes off, blows Marvin's head off, right? In the car.
I remember this,
right?
yeah.
So for those that haven't seen Pulp Fiction, that's the scene that happens. And of course, John Travolta's famous line is, "Oh my God, I shot Marvin in the face." Right? Okay, so the reason I'm telling you this is because it relates to the story I'm going to tell about Terry and Jerry Kill. So Terry and Jerry Kill are twin brothers, and they're out one night with two other guys in a car, and they are cruising Oakland looking for a liquor store to rob. So the seating in this car is Terry's driving.
Okay.
Jerry is directly behind him.
Okay.
And then the two other guys, whoever they are, right? So they're driving around looking for a place to rob, and Jerry's in the back seat playing with a gun. I don't know what he's doing, if he's loading it or fucking with it. This is the gun they're going to use to rob a liquor store. And inevitably, the gun goes off, and he blows his brother's head off in the front seat.
What the heck?
And the car ends up wrecking. And, of course, the cops show up and all they have, keep in mind, they never robbed a liquor store. They, at this point, is simply four guys in a car, one playing with a gun, one shooting his brother in the head on accident. So, but eventually through, interrogations and interviews, they got him to admit that they were cruising around looking for a place to rob, and it was an accident or whatever. So we dubbed it in the newsroom the Pulp Fiction case, because of that scene. For
sure.
Yeah.
So if one kill kills another kill, do you net zero?
I think so. You're the guy that's got the, the math background, not me. Right. So I was the one tasked to write this story. So I had to write this story, and I did. And
was that your headline?
I didn't. Well, reporters don't write the headlines. We could make suggestions. We were required to make suggestions, but they never used any of our suggestions for headlines.
Okay.
And I have no idea what my headline was. It wouldn't have been anything funny. Our editors wouldn't have put up with that shit. Kill, kills, or whatever. Right? Like that wouldn't work. So, but in the story,
or kill, murders, kill.
What, say again?
Kill, murders, kill.
Yeah, kill, murders, kill. Mm-hmm. That would have been, see, there you go. You should have been in the newspaper industry. Mm-hmm. That's a great headline. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, with being a reporter, and I think most people kind of understand this, is that, it's the whole don't shoot the messenger, right?
Right.
And we write these stories. I'm not saying anything. I'm only reporting what other people are saying. So, of course, keep in mind that they never robbed a liquor store. They never even got close to doing that actual act. But the police told me that during, interviews and interrogations that this is what, they said. So I put in the story that they were out scouting to rob a liquor store, and this is what happened, right? The father, who at this point, keep in mind...
Father Kill?
Yeah, Father Kill has lost one son, and the other one's looking at, a very long sentence in prison for blowing his brother's head off. So the story gets written. Of course, my name is nice bold print underneath that headline in the byline, and this dude shows up.
Whoa.
And he's looking for me.
The dad?
Oh, yeah, and he's fucking pissed. So he shows up to the newsroom, and of course we all have these like cubicles in our desks, and we have those placards, with our names sitting on our desk, and all I can hear from the distance, "Where the fuck is Sean?" I'm not going to, say my last video. He's screaming my name, right? And I'm just like, what the fuck? And I'm like, where the fuck is security? Because we had security on premises. I don't know how he bypassed security, but he somehow got into the kind of the main area of the newsroom. And I just reach over and I grab my plaque and I take it off my desk and drop it to the ground. I don't know if this guy's coming to kill me, right? So, the editors are coming out, and there's enough people, and they're just like, where is this motherfucker? And so I take the lead on it. I'm just like, hey, it's, I'm the guy. What is the issue? Let's talk. And again, this is the whole thing. This is why I think I was really good as a teacher. Is I'm really good at de-escalating. Mm-hmm. So I went to him. I'm like, hey, dude, what's going on? And he said, I can't remember his name. I'm so and so's father. Da, 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 da. And you said that they were robbing a liquor store, and they never did anything like that. And I'm like, whoa. And I understand at this point, this dude is in a world of hurt.
Sure.
He lost a son. One's going to prison, and so we kind of calm him down, and he's just, I'm gonna fucking kill you, he's threatening me. And so we got him into a conference room, and probably about an hour and a half of just talking to him, and just letting him vent, and just letting him, just like, man, I'm sorry that this happened, and I did the classic move. This is for anybody. If you have somebody that is emotionally upset and in these kinds of situations, is I just redirected him towards his kids, I want to know more about your kids and what were they like. You know, I couldn't have been. I know, you know, kids are kids. They were young. I think they were 18 and 19. They were just, you know, teenagers.
Okay.
And so, you know,
how did it end?
As I recall, he got, I think, 25.
Well, no, I mean, how did it end with the dad?
Oh, I think about the
yeah. So you're all.
Oh, it was fine. Actually, when it was done, you know, we kind of hugged it out, and you know, and I told him that, you know, that again, these are what police say. It's not, you know, what I'm saying. You know, it's my job to report the news, and I try to do as fair of a job as I can, and I think I did. And he seemed to accept that, you know, and he didn't like the fact that that was being put out there. But why would he? I mean, obviously, these are his kids. And not only does he have to deal with one going to prison and one getting killed, now they got a big mark on them that they were criminals when they actually didn't commit a criminal act yet. Yeah.
Right.
So that is my second story of meeting a murder. Well, the question would be is like, you got these two kids. In this story you just told us, you didn't say you met the kid that shot the gun. I did. I went down to the courthouse and did an interview with him when the trial started. And so I felt bad for the kid. I would say I've never seen a kid so damn scared. You know, and that was my second meeting of a murderer. At least the second story I'm telling.
Yeah, I would say that's wild, man. That's crazy. I would say Larissa Schuster, the acid lady, is the only person that I ever actually met in person. The murderer I met in person. There was I'm gonna say that incident happened, or my interaction was in 2002. In 2005, one of the times that I was in my office. And it was late, and people knew that I worked late, but I get a phone call. It's like 7:50ish, and this gentleman is on the other line screaming and yelling at me. I vaguely knew who he was, but it wasn't like, you know, a client or anything. Apparently, so I didn't leave my office until 10:15 that night. I was on the phone with this person who eventually, I guess, you know, a month or two later, went and killed his daughter.
Oh.
In my conversation, though, I don't know how this happened, is he thought I was coming to get him. I don't know if that means kill. I don't know. But he thought I was coming to get him. He had barricaded himself inside of a room and was calling me from underneath his bed.
Oh, wow.
And all I knew, you know, in that moment is my phone number cannot be the last phone number that is on this person's telephone. And so I, you know, 2 hours on the phone talking this person off the ledge, to where like towards the end of the call, it was, you know, I really appreciate the time. And I heard a door, you know, click, like unlocking itself and swinging open. And all I remember thinking was, man, I just dodged a bullet.
Wow.
I dodged a bullet. Unfortunately, somebody else later did not, which is absolutely tragic. But I'm glad I've never had to repeat any of those experiences. But, you know, if something were to come up like that again, I'd be like, well, at least I know how this, I need to handle myself in this situation.
Right.
So that I'm thankful for. But yeah, I remember that, like, trying to process in that moment, who the person was, why are they calling me,
right, and
what led them to barricading themselves in this room underneath a bed and thinking that, you know, Joe is out there somewhere trying to get them. I still have never connected those dots.
Wow, man, you've had some close brushes. Wow. The other story I got, it's less about the person that committed the murder. It's more about the lawyer that represented the person.
Ooh.
And so this is a funny story. I think this is one of my first time exposures to how lawyers kind of operate, I think, behind the scenes versus what you see for the lawyer on TV defending somebody.
Right.
And you see all these, you know, murderers and criminals that, you know, get these lawyers. These lawyers are defending them when it's clear that, you know, these are disgusting human beings that should be buried 6 feet under the fucking prison. But everyone deserves a defense, right? And it's like people will say things like, how could they defend that person? And it's like, well, everyone deserves a defense. But that doesn't mean that publicly, if a lawyer is saying like, this person, it's not what you think it is, or whatever their defense is,
Right.
that means they're going home at night really believing that, they're human beings and they understand what's going on. So there was a story, and this was again out of the Bay Area, where there's this woman, her name was Lydia McClellan, and she was a meth head. That's primarily, her story.
Hey, that's the way things usually like this kick off.
Right. You got to start with the drugs.
Mm-hmm.
So she had been drinking all night long, just hammered and doing meth. And she was driving down the street. It's like 5 a.m, 6 a.m. And some guy was taking a morning walk. And she plowed into him and killed him, right? I don't know, I shouldn't be laughing, but she plows into him and kills him, right? So now she's getting put up for trial for this. And she didn't want to take a deal. She wanted to go to trial. And apparently her lawyer, his guy's name was Richard Foxall, and he was a public defender.
Okay.
And he tried to cut a deal, but she didn't want to, so obviously they have to go to trial over this. So I get assigned to cover this case, and I go down to the courthouse, and they're doing, I believe it was the preliminary hearing. And so Foxall gets up, and he's just defending her to no end. Here's his main defense. He's got a doctor on the stand, and he's asking the doctor this question: what does alcohol do to you, right? Like, tell me the effects it has on you. And he describes the effects of alcohol when you drink it. Then he asks, what effects do meth have on you, which are the exact opposite of alcohol. So then he tried to claim that the fact that she had been drinking all night long and doing meth all night long, could you conceivably, is it fair to say that she was sober?
Wow, that's
Right.
a reach.
Right. And so I'm sitting there watching and I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Like, but what choice does he have, right? I mean, it's clear, the evidence is out there, but she wants to go to trial, so he has to go through this process. So, and I mean, when he was up there doing this, I swear to God, you'd think that was her brother.
He was that passionate
about it. And so, it ends, and obviously the judge ruled, again, it had to be preliminary hearing. It wasn't the actual trial. That this is going to go to, we have enough evidence, right? We're going to go to trial, whatever. So after it was said and done, again, I'm sitting in the audience. So I started talking to Ms. McClellan and asking her if she would be willing to make a statement. And she's just like, no, I'm not going to make a statement. My lawyer makes all the, statements. I'm like, okay. So Foxall comes over and, hey, can I get a minute with you? And we go outside the courtroom, and I want to get an official statement. And he's just like, I don't even know what he said. It's just your typical lawyer kind of,
No comment?
Well, no, he did make a comment, but saying how that the prosecution's case is based on these factors that, she was under the influence, and even though she had been doing drugs and drinking, that, this is,
not under the influence.
Yeah, they counteract themselves. Okay.
Someone still died, though.
Right. So, I mean, she's definitely, I think it was, at this point, it was coming down to, when you drink and drive and kill somebody, that's still different than if you're just completely sober and it's just an accident. Like
Involuntary manslaughter type of deal.
I lost control of my car. I don't know if the charges are different, but definitely the circumstances are different. So I think the sentence or the time would, I think, likely be different. Because I think, again, every case is different. But if you think about it in terms of if you're driving home, God forbid, today, and you lose control of your car for whatever reason, maybe you hit a patch of ice, I don't know, whatever would happen, and you accidentally hit and kill somebody, that carries a much different kind of connotation than if I drank a bottle of whiskey and I'm flying down the road and I lost control of my car and I slammed into somebody, right?
Sure.
So I think that's what he was aiming for. I mean, what else does he have, right? So he gives that kind of statement, very lawyerish, and then like we're done. I'm kind of done with my questions or whatever. And then he says off the record, I said, yeah. He's like, I fucking cannot stand this fucking bitch. I mean, I have to go out there and I have to put this fucking bullshit defense that's ridiculous because it's all I really have, because I've cut a deal with her. I think I can't remember the time that they had set. it wasn't a ton of time. Maybe 15 years. She'd be out in 8 or 9 with good behavior, whatever. He'd worked on this deal, and just like, no matter how much I talk to this fucking bitch, she won't fucking take the deal. She's going to drag this fucking thing through court. She's going to get absolutely fucking murdered when it goes to trial. And I'm up there looking like a fucking asshole, throwing out this fucked up defense that like somehow she's fucking sober because she's on meth and alcohol, and it counteracts. Like, right? I'm just laughing my ass off.
I was like, he himself is a punchline in the paper at that point.
Oh, yeah. And I was just dying laughing. It was just like...
Probably a case study in law school on, like, this is how not to do, defend your client.
Well, I mean, you go with what you got, so... But I can see that, because I know that, if you look at Sarah Boone, the suitcase lady...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she went through, 9 lawyers?
Yep.
And they bowed out because she refuses to accept the fact that the evidence is so stacked against her, right? And she's like, no, I didn't kill him on purpose, or, whatever, however she's wording it. But the fact of the matter is like, take a plea deal, because the plea deal wasn't that bad. Mm-hmm. On top of the fact that her boyfriend was abusive towards her, she's got at least some leverage. She didn't want it. She's like, no, I didn't do anything. I want to go to trial. And when I saw that case, I'm just like, this is Foxhall all over again. Whoever has to deal with this woman has just got to be fucking...
So with the Foxhall gentleman, like, what ended up happening when they went to trial?
I don't recall. I may have not have covered it that far. I do recall she was convicted. I don't know what she got, though. So, yeah, I think when I covered that preliminary trial, I'm dragging up memories that are 20 plus years old. The cops reporter, I think I was filling in for that.
Okay.
Because I remember writing 1 or 2 stories about her, but I wasn't the person that was on it. Yeah.
When you met her in person, did she look like every other methed out person?
Oh God, yeah. She looked like she lived in a trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's probably got a couple kids from a couple of fathers.
Her teeth looked like she'd spent 10 years smoking enough aluminum foil.
Her teeth did not look like that. You have to have teeth to have them look like something. She was missing a lot of teeth.
Oh.
Yeah, she was your stereotypical trailer trash.
Yeah.
And she seemed mean even when I talked to her for 2 minutes, just, that sour. Well, I mean, look at her life. I mean, she's probably not the happiest person. And of course, she's going through this. I don't talk to reporters. You have to talk to my lawyer. All right. Good. Yeah. I'd rather talk to him than you.
That's the type of person you say Sudafed to, and they don't think, decongestant. They think meth.
What do they call the people that go after the
Smurfs?
Smurfs, right? Yep. Go get where are my Smurfs at?
Yeah, man, that's bananas. One thing, you and I both have some pretty crazy stories from over the years.
Oh yeah.
The people that we've interacted with, whether we wanted to or not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, being a newspaper reporter, it's big time. There's others. I mean, I could tell you even more stories about, various people that I dealt with that, killed somebody or did some really odd things, you get arrested or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I got, more, but we're coming to the end. Look at this. At first we weren't sure we would get,
mileage
out of like, When Joe pitched this story idea, like, let's do a podcast on, if you ever met a murderer, my first thought is like, how many fucking murderers have you met? Like, can you get that much time out of this?
Well, you got my 2, and I think those, especially the first one, man, and just the fact that someone actually was named by the public, Acid Lady, is pretty crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody's got to have a name, especially when they become high profile. Yep. That's part of the deal, right? You got to have some kind of name. If you kill somebody and it becomes high profile.
Life's wild, man.
Right? That's why Sarah Boone is the suitcase lady. Or the suitcase murderer. I don't know.
Suitcase killer? Kill, murders, kill.
I have an important announcement for you, so stay tuned.
Yo, that's some next level shit, bruh. So you got me. Big deal.
The internet's answer to a question no one asked. The Tilted Table with Sean and Joe.
Folks, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of The Tilted Table, the internet's answer to a question that no one asked. I am Sean Landon Clark.
And I am Joey Joe, the Fracky Mac.
And this was a killer time. Hey. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Dad jokes aplenty.
Hey, we murdered it.
All right, folks, we're out of here.
Peace.
Peace.